breaking barriers and bridging the gaps between patients and doctors. Welcome to Brainstorming with the Docs and your co-hosts, Dr. Glenn Harrison and Dr. Kolby Condos.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of Brainstorming with the Docs. I'm Dr. Kolby Condos, my co-host, the man across the screen, Dr. Glenn Harrison. Today, my man, we are talking about something that we talk about all the time, and that is time management and energy management. Mm-hmm. So before we get into this thing, if this is your first time listening or watching the podcast and you have questions about your own health or wellness, make sure you watch back through the previous videos that we've done and turn on notifications and hit like and subscribe, because we're going to continue to roll out this information on a weekly basis. You don't want to miss it, because eventually something that we roll out is going to apply to you. So,
and you're going to want more time.
That's it. And this one today is this one's useful to everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody, because everyone is always like, man, I just don't have enough time. That's
right. And you don't know you're out of time till you're out of time. You don't know how much you're procrastinating till you're out of time. You don't know how much you miss time till it hits the hour. And then there's a sense of defeat, a sense of frustration. It can even play into self-worth. It has a psychological component to it. Psychological components creating the time difficulties and the lack of managing time. So yeah, this is very important because it affects everybody. And there's a major root cause to a lack of time, if that makes sense. I believe there's many, but there's a big one. Oh yeah. And we talked about in the past, and maybe we can touch on that a little bit. What is the difference between productive time versus non-productive time? You get some ideas on that, Dr. Kolby?
Yeah. So the most valuable asset any one of us has is time, right? We've talked about this before. And if you're not using your time efficiently, or you're not getting as much done with your time as you want to, then that's a resource that you won't get back ever again. Once it's gone, it's gone. Once that hour that you were going to do whatever, once it's gone, you'll never get the hour back. So when I look at it, and when we were talking about this topic and we were trying to tease out some of the information, it was like, how many times did I sit down in front of a book when I was exhausted and I tried to hammer through studying? I'm just going to do a chapter tonight. I'm just going to do 10 pages tonight, but I was totally wiped. You know what I mean? You come home from a long day, you're stressed, whatever your job is, you're dealing with the kids, had to cook dinner, make sure your relationship with your significant other is good. And then at the end of the day, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, I'm going to sit down and try to learn this information. How productive was that?
Well, you read 1-2 pages, and then you won't even know what's going on if your eyes are still open. Mm-hmm. And then you will go back to read that 1 or 2 pages and try to get a grip and really try to focus. Maybe get a third page in, and you're, what the heck's going on? So you're repeating and repeating. And this is just one example of reading. I did that in school. I know you did it in school. We were talking about this before. So, the brain isn't running properly, right?
Yep.
And it doesn't matter. And I've been a master all my life of task lists and sticky notes, and now all the digital notifications, and I've got everything organized and bundled up, because productivity is one of my goals I strive for in life. However, it doesn't matter. Any of the systems you have in place of efficiency, of discipline. I pride myself in the discipline to execute these things. But there's one thing that trumps everything. What is that?
Energy.
Energy.
How much energy you have.
How much can you invest in brain function?
You got to think, like, your brain is the thing that demands the most glucose in your entire body. It consumes like 80% of all the glucose that you intake goes directly to your brain to help you maintain not only like autonomous functions such as breathing, heartbeat, all that other stuff, but anytime you have a thought, anytime you have a movement, anytime you're trying to balance yourself, anytime you move your eyes, you're using energy.
That's exactly right. And we put so much emphasis, and society still is doing it. I've done it, and I still do. I didn't throw that side of focusing on efficiency and productive strategies, but we spend so much time on time management, and we forget about energy management. And time management means nothing if you don't have energy. And just to go a little farther in this, I've had clients. I know you had, Dr. Kolby, too. One of the first things that happens when they run out of energy is they get behind on everything in life. They can't, they're behind in their work, so they take it home. They're behind in chores at home, so things pile up. They're behind in projects that they wanted to do in the garage, and those things pile up. And then there's a feeling of defeat, and it has nothing to do with their discipline, their intended focus, any of that. Just their energy is down, and that's the common lifestyle outcome I see from low energy. It's so common.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. Doesn't matter how many lists you have if you don't have the energy to do it. I mean, how many times have you sat down on the couch? All right, I'm just going to sit here real quick and answer an email.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
that fast.
I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'll be in a relaxed position with my laptop, and then the next thing you know, I wake up, and then there's a whole line of keystrokes going across. Yeah. Like, oh, I better erase that. That can't go in this document.
I must have been asleep for a minute because I have 36 pages of L's right now.
Yeah. So how long before my document of L's, did I start to become unproductive?
Yeah. Was it unproductive?
Was it 6 hours before? Was it 3 hours before? Was it the whole day? And I was running on half productive capacity due to energy. It had nothing to do with my systems or discipline or managing my calendar or anything.
Absolutely.
So what happens when, give us maybe some examples of what happens when we run out of energy? What are common things that affect our productivity? We talked about repeating things, having to repeat that page. What else happens?
Well, you got to think about, like, it's going to slow you down, right? So you think about if you're doing a task that's highly refined, right? So say you're building, you're going to build a piano, right? Okay. Something that's really tedious, requires a lot of detail, right? That is really, really, really energy dependent. So then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. A
lot of focus.
Yeah, you got it. And it's like details, small movements require just as much energy as large movements because it's that attentive focus. So you got to think, like, if you're doing something, it's really detail oriented, it's really important, you mess it up, you got to do it again, right? Mm-hmm. Or because you have to focus so strongly on that task, you're doing it more slowly than you would if you have more energy. I mean, it's happened to me a bunch of times. All right, I'm going to do this in my house. I'm going to frame this wall in. And then all of a sudden you get halfway through it and you're like, wow, I did not frame the studs 16-inch on center. So that was a waste of time.
So, yeah. So one thing, just to kind of make it cut and clear, one thing is we have to repeat the task, like the reading, because we couldn't remember what we did. Another example of repeating a task is one of those highly detailed tasks that requires a lot of focus where you make a mistake. I've seen this all the time, where you're redoing it. I have patients that are nurses and they would have to redo things. And sometimes you can't just redo things if there's something, an emergency. So then you have colleagues and everybody looking over your shoulder. It causes a lot of insecurity and questioning and self-doubt. It is terrible, but it's all a lack of energy where the brain can't function. So we talked about repeating tasks. We talked about slowing down, right? Because we don't have the mental speed. We don't have.
And then even like your thoughts becoming disorganized. You know what I mean? So you look at it and you have this nice linear flow about how you're going to do things. And then all of a sudden you're jumping around all over the place.
Your brain starts stalling and you don't have a flow. Right?
Yeah, you got it.
And so then that plays into, we've talked about brain fog and all this stuff on our podcast before. I think we did. I don't know. We talked about many things. If not, we'll have one out.
Yeah, right.
Maybe there was a brain synapse that didn't happen right there. It's later in the day. We're running a little bit slower, probably a lot less efficient with our time right now. So yeah, a lot of things that happen, and then fewer accomplishments, frustration, repeating tasks, reduce efficiency, and it might seem like something that's not that important, but anybody watching this podcast, I know for you, Dr. Kolby, and for me, it's the same thing. If you have 2 hours less of sleep in one night, just 2 hours, you go into the next day, you are nowhere near going to be as productive, and your mind will drift. And you lose focus. And the next thing you know, well, we live in a world where we have all these beautiful distractions that destroy us. And next thing you're doing something, and then you're looking at your phone because your brain wants to shut down and you're looking for something to poke it and get it moving in, some stimulation. So then you end up in Never Neverland surfing a weird page and some other part of the world. You're looking at, I don't know, the weather in
watching like the top 10 moments where dogs wouldn't make it to the Olympics and they're like falling and stuff.
Yeah. So a lack of that mental stamina, we're looking for something to jumpstart it, and our brains drift off. And it's all due to a lack of metabolism.
Right. Lack of the ability to prioritize energy. And then you look at it too, how many interpersonal relationships are destroyed because of energy levels or poor time management? All right, Glenn, I'm going to meet you at X restaurant at this time. Sorry, Glenn, I'm running a little late. I'm going to be like 45 minutes late. Any way we can do that? Sorry, Glenn, I'm not going to actually make it. Think we can reschedule? So then all of a sudden, because you don't have the energy and you don't have the time management, you're not able to stay on task, and you're not performing things in the linear order that you thought you were going to, at the end of the day, you're 3 hours behind.
That's right.
So then not only do you suffer because you're not getting all the stuff you want to get done, you feel like your self-worth is affected, but then also like your interpersonal relationships, whether that's with your spouse, your friends, your family, whoever, those can also be negatively impacted because you're not able to be there and be present because either A, you didn't have enough energy, or B, you weren't managing your time appropriately, or
your energy affected your time and you got behind in life. And that's so common where people, you'll see them get behind on life. But the beautiful thing is once they get their energy up, they don't have to go back and start refining and streamlining their calendar. And they just naturally get a lot more done. They're on target. They're focused. They're not repeating things. They're more confident because they're going through their task lists or checking off things, and they're engaging with life versus life passing them by. And it's amazing how energy plays into productivity, how energy plays into time management. And I think we really have to redefine on how we become productive, how we save time, how we time manage instead of just looking at the next greatest app or the next calendar notification. We have to get our brains running properly, and that requires
feed the thing that integrates everything, right? Feed the thing that allows you to do all those complex things.
Yeah. Now, I don't think, Dr. Kolby, we did, because we'd have to talk for months and months and months on it. So I don't think 20-minute podcast, we could ever scratch the surface of energy. But there's a lot to energy. And I know I'm going a little bit of a tangent at this, but people are like, okay, now I need more energy. What's next?
Right.
Well, I know this is off the cuff here, Dr. Kolby. Which way would you point them in? What would you direct them? They say, I don't have any energy. I feel I'm getting behind on life. What's the first thing you would do?
So the first thing that I would do is I would point them to the Brainstorming with the Docs podcast, because we've already done a couple of these on things like sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
Sleep hygiene is going to be a huge thing, making sure that you're getting adequate rest. I would point them to the exercise one that we've done, because that's going to help. I would point them to the thyroid. I would point them to, there is just an absolute catalog of information that's available.
And you summarize that right there. You didn't say just go here and this will fix it, right? Energy is the number one or number two most common concern that comes into my office, and I know it's probably similar for you. It's got to be in the top 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, top 5 easy. Not even a question without looking.
And everybody has a different cause of low energy. The quick fix, the pill, I don't care if it's a pharmaceutical or a natural supplement, it's not going to just boost you up. There are some sugars and caffeines that'll give you a temporary fix and you'll come crashing down hard after that. But what you were saying, all of these different podcasts and locations and systems and disorders, and without it being, to not make it overwhelming, just to summarize that, energy loss is caused from multiple things, and it has to be a dynamic approach. You'll never just get that one thing, and there's never, very seldom is there two people with the same concern due to energy. It's overall an indicator of health being declining, overall health declining. That's why it's a symptom of enough other systems that have come offline. So the podcast will help a lot, because like you said, there's a catalog of all of these things, and if you start correcting those things, the energy will climb. It will.
Absolutely. And if you feel like you don't want to do it alone, then find someone to help, right?
That's right.
Find a provider. You can contact Dr. Glenn or myself. And if we're not in your area or we don't feel like we can help you, we'll point you to someone who can.
That's right.
And you can get a hold of us at info@brainstormingwiththedocs.com is our email. You can get us on our websites. Mine is www.northlakeschiropractic.com. You can look at Dr. Glenn's. His is www.drgharrison.com. Or if you're just interested in dipping your toes in, trying to figure out what's going on with you, go back through the podcast.
That's right.
And you can scroll through all of them. There's a lot of them on there. There's like 37, I think, or 36 right now. So there's a lot of information on there. And they're not all going to deal with energy, but energy is a multifaceted problem if you have low energy. So just start listening to any and all of them, because they can all in some way be applied to energy, and it's just whether or not it's applicable to you.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So if you want to increase time, like I spent most of my life trying to time manage, don't let off on those strategies, but invest a little bit of time into unlocking some energy and finding the solutions for your energy, because it'll pay back tenfold, 20-fold. Yeah. So I guess that's all we got, Dr. Kolby.
That's it.
Yeah.
So if you guys like this and you got value from this, hit like and subscribe, turn on notifications, because we're going to keep rolling out content on a weekly basis. And if you feel like this is something that applies to maybe a friend, family member, or loved one, make sure you share it with them. And stay tuned, because we're going to keep rolling this stuff out, and maybe the next one is something that you have going on.
That's right. All right. Well, that was great, Dr. Kolby. I look forward to the next one.
All right, buddy. Till next time.
Bye-bye.